On New Year's Eve, 1879,000 stood in the freezing snow of Menlo Park, New Jersey. They weren't there for a party. They were there for a miracle. They came to see the wizard, Thomas Edison, turn night into day. And he did. A switch was flipped, and rows of glass bulbs erupted in light. No fire, no gas, just pure electric brilliance. The newspapers declared that Edison had conquered the sun, but inside the lab, the mood was less celebratory. Edison and his team knew the truth. These lights were a fragile victory. Their filaments, made from burnt paper or bamboo, were incredibly weak. They'd glow for maybe 15 hours, then fizzle out, leaving a dark soot on the glass. This wasn't a solution for the world. It was a toy for the rich. A light that dies so quickly can't illuminate a nation. While America celebrated Edison, another man, miles away in Bridgeport, Connecticut, was hunched over a drafting table. His name was Lewis Howard Latimer. He knew the problem with Edison's bulb, and he believed the answer wasn't in Menlo Park. The key to making the light permanent, to truly bringing light to the world, might just be in his own hands. Lewis Latimer had revolution in his blood. His story didn't start in a lab, but in the darkness of a Virginia cotton field in 1842. 6 years before he was born, his parents, George and Rebecca Latimer, were enslaved, but his father refused that fate for his family. In a daring escape, they fled north to Boston. But freedom wasn't that simple. George was captured, his so-called owner ready to drag him back to Virginia. The city of Boston erupted. The trial of George Latimer became a rallying cry for the abolitionist movement. Giants like Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison fought for his cause. Eventually, the citizens of Boston raised the money to buy his freedom. Lewis grew up hearing these stories. He knew his very existence was a victory in a war for liberty. When the Civil War broke out, a 16-year-old Lewis lied about his age to join the U.S. Navy. Aboard the gunboat USS Massasoit, surrounded by the roar of cannons, he learned a critical lesson. In a battle, survival depends on precision. Every action had to be exact. After the war, Lewis returned to a new kind of battlefield. This time, his weapon was a pencil. He got a job as an office boy at a patent law firm. His duties were simple: sweep floors, run errands. But Lewis did more than fetch tea. He watched the draftsmen. He studied how they turned complex machines into simple, two-dimensional drawings. At night, he taught himself geometry from second-hand books, practicing until his hands ached. Then, one day, an opportunity. The head draftsman was sick, and a critical design was due. With his heart pounding, the office boy approached his boss. "Sir," he said, "may I try?" The boss was skeptical, an office boy doing the work of a highly skilled draftsman. But when Lewis submitted the drawings, the entire office went silent. The lines were flawless, the measurements mathematically perfect. In that moment, Lewis the office boy vanished, and Lewis Latimer, the master draftsman, was born. His reputation grew quickly. Soon, a frantic young inventor named Alexander Graham Bell rushed into the office. He had a strange device he called the telephone, and he needed patent drawings that could explain the impossible. How to send a human voice through a wire. Bell specifically requested Lewis. 4 nights on end, the two men worked side by side. Lewis took Bell's chaotic genius and translated it into the precise, logical blueprints the patent office demanded. When Bell filed his patent beating his rival Elisha Gray by just a few hours, it was the drawings made by Lewis Latimer's hand that secured his place in history. History remembers Bell, but the ink on that page, the very structure of the patent, belonged to the son of a fugitive slave. But Lewis knew he was meant for more than just drawing other men's dreams. He wanted to be the mind that dreamt them. His journey led him to New York, to work for Hiram Maxim. Maxim was a brilliant, aggressive inventor, and he was Thomas Edison's #1 rival. He was obsessed with one-upping the wizard of Menlo Park. Lewis Maxim would say, pacing the floor, "Edison's bulb is a joke. It's a mayflit lives, for a moment, and then it's gone. We need a bulb that lasts. A bulb that can burn all night, every night." Lewis understood the science. The enemy was the filament. Edison was burning bamboo and thread to create a carbon filament, but the process made them brittle and unstable. When electricity surged through, they would essentially So Louis went to work. He realized the problem wasn't just the material. It was the entire process. He started with simple cardboard. But he didn't just burn it. He developed a special process, placing the cardboard filament inside a protective cardboard envelope before firing it in an oven. This was the breakthrough. By shielding the filament as it carbonized, it didn't crack or become brittle. It became dense, durable, and perfectly uniform. And he didn't stop there. He completely re-engineered the design. Instead of Edison's simple horseshoe shape, Louis bent his filament into a distinctive M shape. This clever design increased the surface area, allowing it to produce more light without needing a bigger, more fragile bulb. Then came the moment of truth. In 1881, Louis fitted his new filament into a socket and flipped the switch. A warm, golden light filled the room. An hour passed, then 2, then 10. The light never flickered. The glass stayed perfectly clear. The blackening effect was gone. Louis Latimer had done what the world-famous wizard could not. He had stabilized the electric light. He had created the durable, long-lasting, mass-producible light bulb that would illuminate the entire planet. Hiram Maxim knew he was holding the future in his hands. He immediately sent his best engineer Louis Latimer to learn the mission, light up the streets of the British Empire with this new, superior technology. But Victorian London, a city of gaslights and fog, was skeptical. And when Louis arrived, the challenge wasn't just technical, it was social. The British factory foremen looked at him with open disdain. They couldn't believe that this black man from America was there to lead them. One foreman sneered, "You really think these little glass toys will last in our London damp?" Louis calmly adjusted his cuffs. "Sir," he replied, "I am not here to debate you. I am here to light your city. You splice the wires. I will handle the physics." For months, he worked tirelessly, personally overseeing every connection, training every worker, solving every problem. Finally, the night came. The switch was thrown, and the streets of London were bathed in a steady, brilliant glow, brighter, cleaner, and more reliable than anything the old world had ever seen. That night, Louis wrote in his diary about the strange irony of his position, denied full rights as a citizen in his own country. Yet here he was, bringing the future of light to a global empire. Louis Latimer had not just improved a bulb. He had unlocked modernity, but his story was far from over. He was about to come face to face with the Wizard of Menlo Park himself, and their encounter would change the course of history. Thank you for watching. If you want to know what happened when Latimer finally met Edison, make sure you resubscribe for part 2 of this incredible, untold story. You won't want to miss it.